Flex Your Voice Content Marketing crafts promotional take action content that speaks to the masses. Hurtin Poet LLC helps the empowerment industry and thought leaders flex their brand, value, and reputation because every voice is unique. Their branding pros and your unique message bring new traffic and new customers to your business. Contact Alicia Hurt at hurtinpoetllc.weebly.com. That's hurtinpoetllc.weebly.com. Welcome to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. This podcast was created for the boomer woman leaving corporate, and now you're looking to reinvent yourself, become an author, an entrepreneur, a podcaster. Well, each episode will leave you with clarity. You will come away with the yes, I can and yes, I will reinvent myself mindset. So come on, let's do this. I'm your host, Margot Levette. Back with another episode, Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Well, today I have a very important and timely conversation that's going to take place. Today's guest is an author. He is the CEO and the founder of the Parker Group, LLC. He develops leadership, works with CEOs, high achievers, athletes. But today he's coaching and he's talking about how to turn the page, rewrite your story in a chapter of crisis. Let me introduce you to you, Dr. Johnny Parker. Dr. Parker, thank you for joining us here.
I'm delighted to be with you in such a time as this, Margot.
Oh, yes. I wish that we were meeting up under different circumstances, but in spite of the darkness, there is light. And I know that you are going to bring light to a very hardy, heavy time in history. You often talk about turning the page when I went to your website. And I understand that turning the page is a system that you've developed. So can we start right there? What is turning the page all about?
Yeah, so every life tells a story. Every business tells a story. Every leader's life tells a story. And none of us drift to a great story. None of us bump into it. Our story, our narratives, it's written intentionally, not automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I talk about this, it's broken down, Margot, in three ways. That first, we have to know our story. We got to get high definition clarity. What's the story that my life, my leadership, my business is telling? Then we have to align the story around really solid core values and principles. And then we must master the story that if we don't sustain who we are and our own self-care, if we don't sustain ourselves, we will not be able to sustain our impact and our effectiveness.
Mm-hmm. That's going to drain on our leadership and we won't be authentic in our leadership. Am I hearing you correct?
Absolutely. This is all about being intentional and deliberate in terms of writing the story that we want for our life, for our leadership, and our business.
My question, and this is fascinating stuff for me, because I remember back in the day they'd say, "Don't fake the funk." So many of us, and we definitely need the leaders to stand up and really lead us these days. But so many people are faking the funk, and they have been for so long. Why do you think so many people really move away, or they never really get that high definite clarity so that they can become the leaders and write their stories? What's behind all of that?
Yeah, I do remember that expression too, fake the fun. We're dating ourselves, Margot. But I think the reason why that happens is because it is in my book, Turn the Page. I talk about that in our life, in business and leadership, there's a front stage, and that's the public side of the leader of the business. That's strategy, technology, execution, planning, profitability. And that's the technical side, and that side does matter. But then there's the backstage, Margot, and that's the personal, private side.
Mhm.
And that side, that's when we get into the soul of the leader. That's when we get into the leader's transparency, the emotional intelligence, the resilience, the grit, the passion and perseverance that is required to sustain a great business and to sustain a great life and a great narrative. So the front stage of a business and a leader's life and a person's life matters. The backstage is behavioral, and the backstage matters even more because the backstage supports and sustains the impact and the influence of whatever's happening on the front stage.
So if we don't take care of that backstage, then we may look like we have it all together, but eventually that front stage is going to crumble. There's going to be some leaks in the roof and everything else if we don't take care of that backstage,
You,
correct?
absolutely. And you know, the greatest leader of all time, Jesus, said it this way, that what should it profit a person, and let's use business and leadership, what should it profit a person, a business or a leader to gain profitability and
Mhm.
make a lot of money, which is business exists to solve problems and make money. I get that. But to lose your corporate soul, to lose your business soul, to lose your identity, the reason why you started this business anyway. And so
Mhm.
I think that's what we're saying, that we want to have both. We want to have a solid, well-grounded, anchored backstage so that when we show up to the front stage of business, we have something that's influential and impactful and has a great legacy.
Gotcha. Oh my goodness. I hope everybody heard that. That's powerful for your corporate life, for your personal life. I can see how this spills over. A lot of times you will, you'll run and pay big money to hear somebody speak. The worst thing that can happen is one time you hear them speak and they're one way. And the next time you see them, they're another way.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you want to say, what happened to the consistency? I
exactly.
thought this person's not who I thought they were. Or you pay big money and go to a concert and thought, oh my God, this was crap.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's my perception of some people when they don't allow that backstage to really, when they don't take care of that backstage. That's crucial. I hope everybody heard that. Dr. Johnny Parker, how did you come to this reality for yourself? Because I believe you to be a gentleman who takes care of his backstage. And when anytime someone is going to interview you or read your book, they know what they're going to get.
Yeah. So, Margot, I was not always good at the backstage. And the reason why many of us neglect the backstage because it's hard work. I tell
Mm-hmm.
people all the time whenever I start my presentations that leadership life is hard work, it's hard work, it's worth the work, and you and I get to do the work. We don't bump into great life, great narrative. So for a long time, my front stage was popping. I was faking the funk, as you said earlier, Margot. My
Mm-hmm.
front stage 20 years ago in my 30s, I just celebrated my 58th birthday about a month ago. And in my 30s, Margot, my front stage was popping, snap, crackle, pop. I wrote a book that was a bestseller. It was a marriage book. I was in private practice at the time, and the book had me on CNN, BET. I'm in Ebony magazine. I'm traveling internationally. It was snap, crackle, pop. And towards my latter 30s, 38, 39, I began to battle with depression and panic attacks. My
Mm-hmm.
marriage, here I go writing a book about marriage, and now my marriage, talk about a story, and now my marriage got drama and horror. We're not sure we're going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went away for my 27th birthday alone to the ocean. I live here in Maryland. I go to Ocean City, 2.5 hours away, and to just be alone, to have what I call a meeting, capital M-E in the word meeting with myself, and to pray, to meditate, to seek God, and to figure out what was going on. And Margot, it was a powerful, compelling time. It was a pivotal moment because what I did, and it's something I do with all my clients now, and I developed a tool now that I call the Born Identity. I went through my life, Margot, and in terms of 10-year increments in the different decades, and looked at the high moments, the challenging moments from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 39.
Mm.
And that's where clarity happened. I began to realize that, yeah, I had some pretty exciting things happening on the front stage, because that's where we get rewarded in business and everything. We get
Mm-hmm.
rewarded because of all the energy, all the work, all the profit, all the money that's happening on our front stage. But I would say that although that was happening for me, my backstage was in a dark place,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what began me journaling and processing and researching and going to get a doctorate to figure out what happens in a leader's life, in a person's life, and to contrast the difference between the front stage and backstage, and how do they complement and serve each other.
Oh my. That's transparency. That's what happens when you take care of the backstage and you continue to take care of the backstage. That's where that's the seed ground for bed seed for everything. It looks like. And thank you for your transparency. That takes a
Absolutely.
lot of courage, a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of heart to be that open. And I appreciate it. Now you have taken us into turning the page where everything starts. Excuse me. Now, in this chapter of crisis, and we are smack dab, knee deep in it, people are getting laid off,
Yeah.
furloughed. Some people don't know what's going to happen. We do know we're going to come through this, but what shape we're going to be in, how long is the recovery, we don't know.
Yeah.
So now it's time to rewrite your story. How does a person, if this person does not have to be a CEO, a high achiever, I'd like to tone it down, tamp it down. And will you speak to the person that works at Wendy's who may not be called back, or the person that works at Costco who may not be called back? How do they rewrite their story starting today?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things is I have to be intentional about self-awareness, my own emotional intelligence. And I gotta give myself, we have to give ourselves permission to grieve the disappointment, the loss of dreams. This is not the way 2020 was supposed to happen. I mean, this is a new decade, and we
Mm-hmm.
were all, people were excited on December 31st, a new decade. Everyone was playing on the word vision and clarity, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing things in 2020. Lots of excitement going into this year of possibilities, dreams, goals for my life, for my leadership, for my business, for my family, getting married, graduating. Well, that's not going to happen now. That's not this present moment. I mean, we already know that there are schools. Um, my next door neighbor goes to St. John's University in New York, and they've already
Mm.
said they're not going to have graduation. Many graduations are not going to happen. Many high school graduations are not going to happen. The vacation that I planned is not going to happen.
Yeah.
What I thought my first quarter profits would be, that's not happening. So
Mm-hmm.
this is not the way we went into 2020 in terms of the narrative and the story. So it's real important that I give language to what I'm feeling. It's
Mm.
very powerful. And I especially want the men to hear this, Margot, because um, we traditionally do not do a good job. We, in our country, men have not been raised to process emotions. The only emotion that men will typically give themselves permission to articulate is anger.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not even say it, they act it out. And so it's important, whether male or female, to hear whatever we don't talk out, we act out. Or we bury the emotion, whatever the emotion is, stress of the moment, anxiety, the pressure, the fear, the anger. We can bury these emotions and we can bury them alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's important that we start there. What am I feeling? And give myself, male or female, permission to feel anxiety and to be able to say, right now I'm feeling anxious. Right
Mm-hmm.
now I'm feeling stressed. Right now I'm feeling afraid. And it's okay. You're not less than a man, less than a woman. And to help our children and to model for them and to help our kids and give them permission to identify the emotion that they're feeling. That's a significant place to start.
Yes, that's very important because so many people want to bury it. Where corporations teach us to bury the feelings, you get over it very quickly or you hide it. Family members don't cry. And there are some people that are just grieving now. They've lost family members, they've lost jobs. Let's feel the moment. I think, listening to you, I think that as a country, as a world, we should feel this moment. And because it's a part of our history, we haven't seen it before. We don't want to see it again, but we need to be in this moment so that some things we won't do again. Some places, some things we won't say, some judgments we won't make.
Right.
Pivotal moment in time. So.
Absolutely. That's important. And then it's important, Margot, to ask these 5 questions. There are 5 questions that we need to ask to help to ground us when we're in a chapter of crisis. And I call it that intentionally, a chapter, because it's not the whole story. Okay. This is a chapter. Like you said earlier, we are going to turn the page on this. There are people who are getting better and so we are in a crisis, but we are in a chapter. It's not the whole story. And so these 5 questions are really, really important to help us stay grounded and to get clarity. Question number 1, what story are you telling yourself about the crisis? Mm-hmm. Just every day. What story am I telling myself about what's going on? Number 2, what's essential now? What do I need to do today? It may mean I need to run up and down the stairs 10 times, move my body, get some endorphins rolling. Mm-hmm. I need to go check on mom. I need to make the call to grandma. What's essential today? Everything can't be essential, but what's essential now, right now? Number 3, what does this crisis make possible? What is it? What's possible now? What does this crisis make possible? Number 4, what do I know for sure? Okay, and that's just getting facts. Facts can be our friends because there's all kinds of news, and we want to be careful of being fixated with every piece of news that's coming out there. There's all kind of hopes that are being played. So, but what do I know for sure today? And then finally, what's one thing I will do today to improve the situation? What's one thing I'll do today to improve my situation? So those 5 questions are important to help us stay grounded, Margaret.
Wow. And anybody can ask those questions.
Absolutely.
And seek those answers. You don't have to have your doctorate, anybody. So then you level the playing field for everybody and you get everybody's feet on solid ground, as they say. Wow. This is, when I think about the work that you are doing, the work that you have put in yourself, and I think about your books, I look at your books and journals, the products that you have to offer everyone. If there's one product that you would tell a person, I'm offering this, you need to get this from me today. And I shamelessly plug it, please, Dr. Parker, because I know that when a person has done the work already, been there, done that, then what they're offering to people is priceless. So for a person that wants to turn the page, rewrite their story, go through the 5 steps, what one product would you say, start here, get this one today? Let's work
absolutely.
together.
Get the book, turn the page, unlocking the story within you. This is a great time with all this downtime and feeling, for some folks, feeling some level of cabin fever. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend that listeners turn the page, unlocking the story within you. They can go to Amazon and get that and go through that book because it's going to speak. It's such an evergreen book that it's going to speak directly into your situation and to the current story that you're experiencing. And so definitely go get the book. And then you can go to the website, and there's a 5-day turn the page challenge, complimentary, that I also would encourage every listener to do, to go through to johnnyparker.com, take the 5-day turn the page challenge, and become really intentional about the new story.
Mhm.
Again, one of those questions that I asked, what does this crisis make possible? I'm really believing that new businesses are going to be birthed because of this. Ideas that have always been there, now you're going to act on them. I don't think we'll ever be the same after this. I
Mhm.
don't think we'll ever be the same. And I think new levels of gratitude, people are, I'm seeing people reach out and serve and care because we all know we're better together. And
Yes.
so I'm really believing for a turn the page in our culture in a
Mhm.
positive way as a result of this crisis.
We need it.
Yeah,
We
we do. We
definitely,
do.
Lord, we need it. We need to turn the page in our personal lives so that it can spill out into our professional lives. We can change the world and rewrite your story. It's a very personal time now, and no one can write that story but yourself. Dr. Parker, you are phenomenal. Thank you for joining me. I so appreciate this time. I really do.
Thank you. We've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm so glad that we can make it happen. And so thank you for having me on, Margaret.
Oh, no worries. You know, Dr. Parker, just as I was about to go into the outro, one thing came to my mind, and I want to get your opinion on this, and I promise this is the last question. Some people are very, very frantic and they are stressed
Mm.
and they are acting that out. We see it, or it comes and it goes in a wave. My thought on all of this is that everybody is affected in their own private and personal way, but it would behoove all of us to practice your ask the 5 questions, outwardly stressed, inwardly stressed. Maybe you're just methodically moving along. Whatever happens, I think that everybody should ask themselves those 5 questions to stay grounded, because if we don't, it can just take something terrible to happen in one part of the country with this pandemic, and it will knock you off your axis. And next thing you know, your feet aren't on the ground. So, will you speak to that? The fact that we all need to stay grounded no matter how we're feeling this day. We may not be the frantic neighbor today, but are we one CNN report away from just really being thrown into a crisis? Does that
Yeah,
make
absolutely.
sense?
Sure, sure, sure. So I think it's important that we're intentional about I'm in this group of 5, but think of it as your perms, PERMS, and that's an acrostic that we are intentional about physically doing things to exercise and move our bodies. I just talked to my 28-year-old son. He has his own place, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He said, "Dad, I'm doing yoga. I'm doing some YouTube stuff." And this guy does not like to be locked in.
Uh-huh.
And so we got to move our body. That's the P. The E, emotional. We spoke to that. But here's a good thing to do. Be intentional about gratitude, because it's hard to be in an anxious place and a stressful place and a pressured place and in a grateful place. You can't occupy both spaces. So I would encourage people to get out a journal and begin writing down 2 or 3 gratitudes.
Mm-hmm.
Be specific about those gratitudes. And then the R, relationships. Be connecting. Talk to family and friends and Zoom and make those connections. And then the M would be mindset. Choose your mindset. Get up in the morning, do yoga, do meditation, pray, read an
Mm-hmm.
inspirational book. And then the S is spiritual, and that the M and the mental and the spiritual I combine together. The mindset is really important, and the spiritual, whatever your faith practice may be. Mine is in God, and
Yes.
but I encourage people to be intentional about those things. I call that perms.
Yes. Oh, I knew that last question. It came to me for a reason. So,
Great.
wow. That is the icing on the cake. So now what you present is an opportunity for all of us to walk through this chapter in history and come through it stronger than ever with a story that is just glowing and blazing. So once again, Dr. Johnny Parker, I appreciate you. Tell everyone how they can purchase your journal. You told us to go to Amazon and get the book, but you have some other products. What's your website, sir?
Sure. So you can go to johnnyparker.com, and it's JOHNNY, not the IE version, but JOHNNY, johnnyparker.com. And certainly they can get the journals are there. We also have a coloring book. That would be something for people to do right now. We have an adult coloring book, which is very relaxing, helps to eliminate and reduce stress. So there's that. And then, of course, my Turn the Page book is there on the website, or you can get it through Amazon.com Amazon as well. So those are some resources. But yes, you can get us there. We have coaching that we walk people through, some coaching packages that are there as well.
Wow. Well, I like that idea of the coloring book. I really do, because I think that will help you get grounded. I remember coloring as a kid, and it pulls you into the moment. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. Listeners, I always tell you, you have to listen more than one time. Dr. Parker has given us a blueprint. Now we know how to turn the page, and we know how to rewrite our story. And we are in a time of crisis. The whole world is, but that's only part of your story. As Dr. Parker said, it's just a chapter. So thanks for listening. Listen more than one time, and do your neighbor a favor and share this episode out. It's going to save some lives. I just really believe it's going to save some lives and elevate people. So I'm Margot Levette. I'm tongue-tied right now, just still thinking about all of the information we just took in. And I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. I want to thank you for listening to Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation. Couple of things that I want you to do right now. Go to my website, pick up a copy of Her Business, Her Voice, Her Reinvention, how I went from game show hopping to international show host, author, and speaker in 1 year. Number 2, please freely listen to each and every episode. Share them out with your family, friends, the men in your lives. And then number 3, get in contact with me, one of the experts that have been on the show, because I want to make sure that you reinvent yourself. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode here on Her Business, Her Voice, Her Conversation.